Ask and you shall receive. We've all heard that phrase. And when you begin to intentionally communicate with the universe, you will receive a lot in the way of signs. Whether you're talking to angels, guides, the all-encompassing universe, or God, it doesn't really matter. You are going to be answered back, but not necessarily in the most directive ways. The trick is you have to be open and aware of the signs. The universe is sending us signs on the regular, all day, every day. But when we are not open to receiving them, when we are blind to their existence, or we are just not present enough in the moment, we may not get them. So if you want to start communicating with whatever higher power you believe in, if you want the ultimate support for your situation, if you want to live intentionally guided, then this is your sign to tune into the podcast this week. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about signs. Welcome back to another episode of Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. I'm your host, the founder and creator of the Intentional Home and Living, Courtney Meyers. And today we are talking about one of my favorite topics, signs. I seriously love signs. I ask the universe for signs all the time, and the universe always provides. It is one of the highlights of my day. And that may be because I'm a person that likes to know the ending of things. I've talked about it before. I will flip to the end of a book to see how it ends before I even start it. I like to know that things are going according to plan. I like that kind of structure. And with life, there is just so much that is unknown. We don't know what's going to happen minute to minute. We don't know what's going to happen in the next day. We don't know what's going to happen next week. So for someone like me that likes that structure, likes that control, likes to have a roadmap, it gives me a sense of security. It gives me a sense of safety, knowing that there is something bigger than me out there that's leading me and guiding me on my path and on my journey. And maybe I abuse the concept of signs a little bit, and I take it a little far sometimes when looking for an answer or outside validation that I'm moving in the right direction or doing the right thing. But I truly believe in these signs. I truly believe in these signs that I am getting. Now, there is a lot out there that you can read and learn about signs and the way the universe may communicate with you. But I think you have to look within. I think you have to make it personal when it comes to signs and when it comes to asking for signs for anything. I know my teacher says all the time to ask for a sign, ask for a gift from the universe, and see how it delivers. And that's a really fun way to start. That's a really fun way to get to know signs. That's a really fun way to understand how the universe communicates with you. For me, I know I get a lot of signs in the way of numbers and angel numbers. I see them on license plates all the time. And when I see signs like that, I'm usually in my head thinking about something, and it jars me back to the present moment. It jars me back to thinking, whether it's raising my thoughts to a better thought, whether it's just giving me comfort that whatever I'm worrying about, whatever I'm mulling over in my head is going to be okay. I've been getting the sign 222 a lot, which aligns with the idea of faith and having faith that everything's working out in your best good, which is really funny because during my mentoring session this week, my teacher and I discussed the fact that I am going through an initiation of faith, that everything I have been experiencing over the past couple months has been my initiation to really test my faith, to really lean into having faith in something greater than me, having faith in the universe, having faith in the bigger picture, and that I am going in the right direction. So this 222 that I'm constantly seeing has just been reaffirmed to me this week, that sign and the constant reminder that I need to lean into my faith and know that everything is okay is accurate. So it's really, really fun when you start to open yourself up to these signs and then see how they all work together and see how it truly does have an impact on your life and what you're doing and where you're going. But even more so than having an impact on your life, what I find the most fascinating about signs is that it is confirmation that there is something greater than us out there. It is confirmation that you are not alone. It is confirmation that your journey is guided and you are here for a reason to do something with your life that is great, no matter what that is. And that is such a comforting thing. But you do have to be open to them. That's what the trick is. That's what the trick to seeing signs is. Because at the end of the day, signs are going to be given to you left and right. But if you are not aware, if you're not open enough and aware enough and present enough to accept a sign, you're not going to see them. You can be driving down the road and a billboard can have a message plastered specifically for you on it. But if you are in your head, if you are somewhere else, if you are just not paying attention, you are going to miss it. I nearly missed a huge sign the other day. I was going out to run some errands, and honestly, I can't even remember what the sign I asked for pertained to. I can't even remember what the question was that I asked that I wanted a sign for. But I really wanted an obvious sign. I wanted something more than just the usual angel numbers I come across very often. I wanted more than a message on the radio, a song to play. I said, I want an angel to drop into my lap. I remember this very clearly. I want it to hit me over the head because I really just need a true, honest to God sign and not something that I can manipulate into my own mind thinking it is a sign of something. And as I was going about my day, I kept asking for this and I kept thinking about it. And I will say one of the things that I find best is when I do ask for a sign and I allow myself to surrender to it and kind of forget about the fact that I asked for it, the signs will come faster. They will come more obvious and it will just be like a light going on in my head. Oh, wait, I asked about that. There's my sign. Oh my goodness, things are going in this direction one way or another, whatever that sign is I asked for. But on this particular day, it was in my head. All I could do was think about the sign. I want an angel to drop into my lap. I seriously wanted a physical angel to drop into my lap. But I was so in my head, I couldn't see that the sign was already given to me from the minute I turned on my car. The minute I turned on my car, I turned on my favorite podcast and I'm half listening to it, half thinking about whatever I was thinking about in the moment, wondering how an angel is going to drop into my lap until finally I get home a couple hours later and I look at the title of the podcast I'm listening to and it's all about angels. I had been listening for an hour to a podcast talking all about angels. I didn't choose that podcast. It was just the next one that came up on the list when I turned on my car and my regular podcast started playing. It was a podcast all about angels. I asked for an angel to fall into my lap. It was in front of me the whole time. And here I am going about my day thinking, well, whatever I was asking the sign for, honestly, I can't remember. It must not be a line. It must not be the direction I need to go. It must not be something for me because an angel isn't showing up to say, yes, you are on your path. Yes, this is aligned. Yes, this is what you need to be doing. So you have to be aware of what's happening around you. Like I said, you can drive down the street and have a billboard with a sign plastered on it in front of you. But if you are not paying attention, you are going to miss it. But almost worse than missing a sign is misinterpreting a sign. I know quite a few years ago when I was dating and in the search for my husband, I had asked for signs over and over again. And I wasn't specific about what sign I wanted. I just asked for signs of some sort of confirmation that I was on the right path and that I was on the right journey to meet him and that I was getting closer to finding my person. And during this time, I was commuting from San Diego to LA for work. And that's a really long drive. It's a long, tedious drive. So I got a lot of signs while I was driving. I still do. It tends to be a place where I get a lot of signs coming through. And every day I would see random signs for Oregon, Oregon O ducks, or something that said Oregon, left and right, left and right, left and right. It was this constant thing that I kept seeing. And it truly felt like it was a sign of something. Lo and behold, my mom called me one day and one of her friends wanted to set me up with someone. This someone had just moved to San Diego from Oregon. So in my mind, I was all in. I was like, this is it. I am jumping 2 feet in. This has to be my person. This doesn't just happen. I've seen all these signs. Everything is pointing to Oregon, Oregon, Oregon. It just made sense. So of course I allowed the setup to happen. I went on a few dates with this person, and honestly, it just wasn't there. It wasn't meant to be, but I didn't want to admit that. I wanted to believe so strongly in those signs that I saw that he was supposed to be my person, and he wasn't. He just wasn't my person. So that relationship obviously only lasted a few dates and didn't go anywhere. And I continued to date and look for someone, kind of allowing that Oregon sign to fall off, just fade into the distance. Well, it was only a few months later that I met someone else. And guess what? He was from Oregon. He was a huge Oregon Ducks fan. And lo and behold, he is my husband today. That's the funny thing. The signs are going to point you in the direction. You don't know when things are going to work out or how it's going to play, but the signs were there. Just not in the timeline that I thought. I had to kind of forget about it and allow things to organically happen, but they did. And the signs were correct. They were pointing me there. The universe was just letting me know to stay the course, continue on. Your person is out there. He is coming. And when I met him, I knew that those signs were meant for him, not the one before. You cannot force a sign onto something. You cannot force something to be aligned if it's not. And the signs will prove that to you. So if you are seeing things out and about and you are asking for a sign to support something one way or another, and you're not getting the sign you want, or it's not happening in the way you think, you have to be willing to accept that as well. It's just like getting red flags in a relationship. You can have all the red flags in the world, but if you aren't open to seeing them, you are going to ignore them. You are going to let them go by. And at the end of the day, that relationship is probably not going to be the best thing for you. You have to work with what the universe gives you in conjunction with the knowledge you have. The thing is, the universe wants what's best for you. So signs are always going to point you and lead you in the best direction possible. Even if a sign is to stop you from making a decision, even if a sign is to say, no, this is not right for you. Even if you're not getting a sign that you're asking for, that is a sign in itself. That is a sign telling you what you want confirmation on is not for you. So there's a whole science around signs. You have to be open to see them, and you have to be honest with your interpretation of them. But the more you get comfortable seeing signs and the more you get comfortable asking for signs, the more the universe will begin to communicate with you through signs. I know for me, I have certain standing signs for certain scenarios in my life. If I see a crescent moon, I know it has something to do with this podcast. I know when I see a hummingbird, it means that my husband's best friend is visiting us and saying hi. He passed away a few years ago, and after he passed, a hummingbird moved onto our patio, and it would always hover outside whenever my husband was working, just kind of saying hi, hanging out. And a few months went by, and a friend of mine was working on honing her mediumship skills. So we sent her a picture of my husband's past friend, someone she didn't know, to do a reading to practice with. And she came back with a fascinating reading. It was so spot on, things you couldn't know about this person. And in it, she started talking about a hummingbird coming to visit us. Over and over and over again, this hummingbird would come to visit us. And I always had the feeling that this was my husband's friend. It was him coming to say hi. It was him coming to say, hey, I'm still here. But her reading was the ultimate confirmation that was true, that was accurate, that he is always with us. He is watching over us. He is one of our guardian angels. And even more fascinating, she had this confirmation that he had held our son in heaven before he was born, which I always had this feeling that he was somehow connected to my son, Hayden. Even more fascinating, at the time we were still living in San Diego. And every time my husband and I started talking about our move to Tennessee and next steps and things we wanted to achieve in our life, a hummingbird would fly into our vicinity. It could be nowhere in sight. There would be no reason for a hummingbird to be around. We could be driving down the street and parked in a parking lot, and we would be talking, and a hummingbird would surely hover over. Just confirmation that we were on the right path, we were being watched over, and that we needed to lean into these feelings. Needless to say, a hummingbird has taken on a huge meaning in our life. It is a huge staple of a sign for us and our family. It has even become the logo for my husband's company. So certain signs can take on a bigger meaning. It can be a comfort. It can be something more than just an answer to a question. It can be the recognition that the universe is with you, that someone is looking out for you, that you are on an aligned path. It just goes to say, big or small, signs are always there. When called upon, you will always receive a sign. I don't know if you're as fascinated by this whole concept as I am, but I just can't get enough of it. It's why we're doing the podcast on it today. I just truly, truly, truly love a good sign. There is so much comfort knowing that you have angels and guides and helpers and the universe behind you 100% of the time, all day, every day. And you can talk to the universe and receive communication back through signs to know that they hear you, that you are working in conjunction with spirit, that you are working in conjunction with something greater. So that is my intention for you this week, is to ask for a sign. Start looking for the signs. Start opening yourself up to different signs in your life and accepting them in and noticing them and calling them out, acknowledging the signs that you do see so that the universe knows you see them, that you hear them, that you are open. The more you open yourself up, acknowledge and accept signs, the more the universe will communicate with you in that way. It's just like I said, I see angel numbers on license plates all the time, like all the time. I think it's because the universe knows that that's one way they can communicate very quickly and easily with me. So start opening yourself up to signs. Pick something out that you want a sign for. Ask a question and ask for a specific sign so that you know when you get that sign what it pertains to. If you can start to get specific about seeing signs, then you will open yourself up to more of the communication sort of signs. So get specific about something. Ask a question and ask for a very specific sign. And open yourself up to seeing it. Acknowledge it. And continue to do this until you get more comfortable with interpreting signs in your life so that the universe will just automatically start to send them your way. And then send us a message. Send me your signs. I would love to hear the different signs that you get in your life so that we can start to talk about them as a community and we can start to understand the different ways that the universe communicates with all of us, because it's going to be different from one person to the next. We are all so unique, and just as we each have our own unique voice, so too will the signs that we get, because signs are the language of spirit. They are going to be unique to you and your thoughts. They are going to be unique to you and your interpretation. I just love this topic so much, and it's so personal to me just because it's something that I do every day and I'm consistently on the lookout for. So I hope you find fun in it too, because that is when spirit truly speaks to you, is when you're having fun, that lightheartedness, that carefree side of you, that inner child. That's when spirit comes through clearest. And that's when you're going to see your strongest signs. And they're just really so much fun when you get into it. So with that said, that is all we have today. Thank you so much for listening to Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers this week. Make sure to follow The Intentional Home and Living at CourtneyMyers.com online and on social media. That's where you'll find all of our fun announcements, our daily tips, our inspiration, and just a lot of great stuff. We are starting to do breathwork sessions again. It's something I did quite a few years ago. I am certified in leading breath work. So we are going to open up appointments for that starting next week. So keep an eye out for how to book online. You can always comment or email me at Courtney@CourtneyMyers.com and we'll get you on the schedule. Breathwork is so great for releasing trapped energy and just reconnecting to your soul and reconnecting to your spirit. And you get a lot of great insight during breath work. A lot of intuitive hits will come through for me and for you. So look out for that. I'm really excited to start leading breathwork sessions again. And don't miss our free intentional journal download. It's 28 days to jumpstart your intentional life. And it's a free download you can get on the website at CourtneyMyers.com. So once again, thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.